I stood in my kitchen that Tuesday morning, and I watched my son forge my signature. He didn't know I was there. The hallway mirror caught his reflection at my dining table, his hand moving quickly across a document I'd never seen before. And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about my life, about my family, about the boy I'd raised, it all shattered, like the china teacup that slipped from my fingers and broke against the tile floor. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand who I was before that morning, who I'd always been. My name is Margaret. I'm 73 years old, and I've lived in the same house for 46 years. It's a modest 3-bedroom colonial on Elmwood Street, with blue shutters I repaint every 5 years, and a garden that's been my pride since 1979. The hydrangeas out front are older than my grandchildren. I know every creak in the floorboards, every stubborn window that sticks in humid weather, every place where the afternoon sun pools golden on the hardwood. This house holds everything. It holds the pencil marks on the kitchen doorframe, where I measured my children's heights every birthday. It holds the scuff on the banister from when my daughter learned to slide down it at age 7. It holds the replaced section of carpet in the living room, where my husband Robert spilled an entire can of paint during our last renovation together, and we laughed so hard we cried. It holds Robert's memory in every room. He died 6 years ago, pancreatic cancer, 11 months from diagnosis to the end. The grief was unspeakable. But I learned to live with it, the way you learn to live with an old injury that aches when the weather changes. You adjust. You find your rhythm. You make your coffee the same way every morning, and you talk to your husband's photo on the mantel, and you keep going because that's what you do. That's what I've always done. Kept going. My routine is simple. I wake at 6:30 every morning. I don't need an alarm anymore. My body knows. I put on my robe, the blue terry cloth one that's worn soft from washing, and I make my way downstairs. The 4th step creaks. Always has. Robert promised for 20 years he'd fix it. He never did. I smile every time I hear it. In the kitchen, I fill the kettle and set it on the stove, not the microwave. The stove. There's something about the whistle of a proper kettle that makes tea taste right. While the water heats, I open the back door and step onto the porch. The morning air in our town is different depending on the season. In summer, it's thick and green, smelling of cut grass and Mrs. Patterson's roses next door. In autumn, it's sharp and clean, carrying the scent of wood smoke and fallen leaves. In winter, it's cold enough to make your lungs ache, and you can see your breath cloud white in the early light. In spring, my favorite, it smells like possibility, like things beginning. I stand on that porch for exactly 5 minutes every morning, breathing it in, listening to the neighborhood wake up, Mr. Kowalski starting his truck at 6:45 for his commute to the plant, the Thompson twins racing to catch the school bus, the birds in my maple tree arguing over territory. These are the sounds of a life, my life. After my tea, I make breakfast. Toast with butter and strawberry jam, sometimes an egg if I'm feeling ambitious. I eat at the kitchen table, the same seat I've sat in for 46 years, looking out at my garden. I see Robert everywhere in that garden. He built the stone path that winds through the flower beds. He planted the dogwood tree that blooms white every spring. He constructed the little bench under the oak tree where we used to sit on summer evenings, drinking wine and watching fireflies. He's gone, but he's not gone. Does that make sense? The house holds him, and I'm not ready to let that go. I had 2 children. Michael, my oldest, was born in 1976. 3 days of labor, 9 pounds, 6 ounces, a shock of dark hair, and my mother's eyes. From the moment they laid him on my chest, I knew my entire world had shifted on its axis. Everything I did from that moment forward was for him, for them. Sarah came 2 years later. Easier birth, smaller baby, but no less loved. I was a stay-at-home mother. That's what we called it then. Robert worked as a civil engineer, and his salary was enough that I could be home with the children. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't acknowledged, but it was everything. I packed lunches. I attended every parent-teacher conference. I coached Sarah's soccer team, even though I'd never played soccer in my life. I drove Michael to piano lessons every Tuesday for 7 years, even though we couldn't really afford the lessons, and the drive was 40 minutes each way. I made Halloween costumes from scratch. I stayed up until midnight helping with science fair projects. I learned to stretch a pound of ground beef into 3 different meals when money was tight. I ironed Robert's shirts every Sunday evening while watching 60 Minutes. I was the one who sat with them when they were sick. Who knew that Michael liked his grilled cheese cut into triangles and Sarah preferred squares? Who could tell from the sound of the front door closing what kind of day they'd had at school? This is what mothers do. We know our children in our bones. Or at least we think we do. Robert and I weren't wealthy, but we were careful. He had his pension from the engineering firm. We had some savings. When he died, there was the life insurance, not a fortune, but enough to keep me comfortable. The house was paid off. I had Social Security. I had my health, mostly. A little arthritis. Some trouble with my knees. But nothing serious. I wasn't rich, but I was secure. That's what I thought. That's what I believed, right up until 6 months ago, when Michael came to visit on a Sunday afternoon, and everything started to change. It was October. The leaves were turning. I'd made pot roast because it's his favorite. Or at least it used to be when he was young. I'd set the table with the good dishes. I'd even bought a bottle of the wine he likes, even though I don't drink much anymore. He arrived late. He's always late now. He came in through the front door without knocking. He still has his key. And I heard him on his phone in the hallway, his voice tight with tension. I know, Jennifer. I know. I'll handle it. Just give me a few days. Jennifer is his wife. They've been married for 12 years. 2 children. A house in the suburbs 30 miles from here. He's a financial advisor. She's in pharmaceutical sales. They always seem busy, always stressed, always rushing. I try not to judge. But sometimes I wonder if they're happy. Michael came into the kitchen and kissed my cheek. He's tall, like Robert was. Same broad shoulders. But where Robert had warmth in his eyes, Michael has something harder now. Something that wasn't there when he was young. Hi, Mum. Something smells good. Pot roast. Your favorite. Actually, I'm trying to cut back on red meat. Jennifer's on this whole thing about cholesterol. He said it casually, but it stung. Small rejections often do. I can make you a salad, I offered. No, it's fine. I'll just have a little. We sat down to eat. I asked about the grandchildren. Emma is 10 now. Jake is 7. He gave brief answers, distracted. He kept checking his phone. How's work? I asked. Busy. Really busy. The market's been volatile. I'm sure you're doing wonderfully. You always were so good with numbers. He nodded, but didn't meet my eyes. We ate in silence for a while. The clock on the wall ticked. I could hear Mrs. Patterson's dog barking next door. Then Michael put down his fork. Mum, I wanted to talk to you about something. My heart did a little skip, something in his tone. What is it, sweetheart? It's about the house. I set down my own fork. What about it? Well, it's a lot for you to manage. The upkeep, the yard work, all these stairs. He gestured vaguely. You're not getting any younger. I felt my spine straighten. I'm 73, not 103. I know. But Dad's been gone 6 years now, and you're here all alone in this big house. Don't you think it might be time to consider downsizing? Downsizing. Such a gentle word for what he was really saying. I like my house, I said carefully. Of course you do. But there are wonderful retirement communities, places with activities and healthcare right on site. You'd have less to worry about. You could relax. I am relaxed. Mum. He leaned forward. Be realistic. What happens when you fall down the stairs? What happens when something breaks and you can't fix it? What happens when... Michael. I kept my voice calm. I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. The house is fine. I'm not ready to leave. He sat back. I saw something flicker across his face. Frustration? Disappointment? Just think about it, he said. That's all I'm asking. Just think about it. He left shortly after. He hadn't finished his pot roast. I cleared the table slowly, my hands shaking just slightly. I wrapped the leftovers in foil. I washed the dishes by hand, even though I have a perfectly good dishwasher, because I needed something to do with my hands. I needed to think. Why was he pushing this? I stood at the sink, looking out at my garden in the fading October light, and I tried to understand. Maybe he was genuinely concerned. Maybe he worried about me being alone. That would be natural. That would be loving. But something felt off. Something in his voice. His urgency. I dried my hands on the dish towel, the one with yellow chickens that Sarah gave me for Mother's Day years ago, and I told myself I was being paranoid. He's your son. He loves you. He's just worried. That's what I told myself. But deep down, in a place I didn't want to acknowledge, a small, cold doubt had begun to form. The next few weeks were quiet. Michael called twice. Both times he steered the conversation back to the house. Have you thought about what I said? Have you looked at any of those retirement community brochures I sent? Mum, I really think we should sit down with a real estate agent, just to get an idea of what the house is worth. Each time, I deflected. Each time, I felt that cold doubt grow a little larger. Then came Thanksgiving. Sarah drove up from Baltimore with her husband Tom and their daughter Lily. Michael and Jennifer came with Emma and Jake. I cooked for 3 days. Turkey and stuffing and sweet potato casserole and green bean casserole and cranberry sauce from scratch and 3 different pies. The house was full. The table was crowded. For a few hours, it felt like it used to, like when they were small and the holidays were magic and everyone was together and happy. But after dinner, when the children were playing in the living room and the dishes were piled in the sink, I heard Michael and Sarah talking in the hallway. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I was just walking past with a stack of plates. You need to back me up on this, Michael was saying. His voice was low but intense. I don't know, Mike. She seems fine to me. The house is in good shape. She's managing. For now. But how long before something happens? How long before she has a medical emergency and we're scrambling? So this is about us scrambling. Don't twist my words. This is about Mom's safety and about being practical. Do you have any idea what this house is worth? In this neighborhood? We could get her into a nice assisted living place and there'd be money left over for her care down the road. A pause. Then Sarah, quietly. Money left over for who, Mike? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Forget it. I stood frozen in the hallway, holding those plates, not breathing. Money left over. For her care down the road. Or for something else. I didn't sleep well that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle around me. The familiar sounds that usually comforted me felt different now. I kept replaying Michael's words. Money left over. The next morning, Black Friday, Michael approached me again. The house was quieter. Sarah's family had left early to beat traffic. Jennifer had taken the kids to the mall. It was just the 2 of us in the kitchen. I was washing the breakfast dishes. He came in and poured himself coffee. Mum, I've been thinking. Here we go, I thought. I really think we need to make some decisions about your future, about your finances. I kept washing. My finances are fine, sweetheart. Are they, though? Have you really looked at your budget lately? Property taxes are going up. Utilities, maintenance costs. That roof is going to need replacing soon. I had it done 4 years ago. Still, these things add up. And at your age, you need to be thinking about healthcare costs, long-term care insurance. Medicare doesn't cover everything. I dried a plate very carefully. Michael, I appreciate your concern, but I'm perfectly capable of managing my own finances. I'm not saying you're not capable. I'm saying you shouldn't have to. You've done enough. You raised us. You took care of Dad. You've worked hard your whole life. Don't you think you've earned the right to let someone else handle the complicated stuff? And by someone else, you mean you? He smiled. I am a financial advisor, Mum. It's literally what I do. For your clients. You're more than a client. You're my mother. I want to help you. I turned to face him. He looked sincere. His eyes were soft. His voice was gentle. He looked like my son, my boy. The one I'd rocked to sleep and nursed through fevers and taught to tie his shoes. Let me think about it, I said. He smiled wider. That's all I ask. He left an hour later. After he was gone, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, my cold tea untouched in front of me. Something was wrong. I couldn't name it, couldn't articulate it, but I felt it. The way you feel a storm coming before you see the clouds. December came. The first snow fell on a Tuesday morning. I stood on my porch and watched it dust the garden white, covering Robert's stone path, settling soft on the dogwood branches. Michael called. "Mum, I've been thinking. Why don't you give me access to your bank accounts? Just so I can keep an eye on things. Make sure you're not getting scammed. There are so many schemes targeting seniors these days." "I'm careful, Michael. I know you are. But humor me. Just add me as a joint account holder. That way, if anything happens to you, we won't have any legal hassles. Everything will be smooth. Nothing's going to happen to me." "Of course not. But it's smart to plan ahead. Remember when Dad died? Remember how complicated everything was because you weren't on some of his accounts?" That was true. There had been complications. Paperwork. Waiting periods. It had been stressful. "Let me think about it," I said again. "Mum." His voice changed, sharper. "Why are you being so stubborn about this?" "I'm not being stubborn. I'm being careful." "Careful of what?" "I'm your son. I know who you are, Michael." Silence on the line. Then, "Fine. Think about it. But don't take too long. These things are important." He hung up. I stood holding the phone, my hand trembling. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I went through my files. I keep everything in a filing cabinet in the small room off the kitchen that Robert used as a home office. Bank statements, investment records, insurance policies, tax returns. I'm organized. I always have been. I started with my bank statements. I have 2 accounts at the local bank, a checking account and a savings account. Simple. Nothing complicated. I spread the last 6 months of statements across Robert's old desk, and I started to notice things. Small things. A withdrawal in September, $300. I didn't remember making it. Another in October, $500. 2 in November, $200 each. They were marked as ATM withdrawals. But I rarely use the ATM. I prefer to go inside the bank. I like seeing the tellers. I like the human interaction. I went through my checkbook, carefully matching every entry. The withdrawals weren't in my checkbook. I stared at those statements. My heart was beating too fast. There had to be an explanation. Maybe I'd forgotten. Maybe I had taken out cash and simply hadn't recorded it. I'm 73. Memory slips. That's normal. That's what I told myself. But I didn't believe it. The next morning, I drove to the bank. Our town is small. The bank sits on Main Street between the pharmacy and the hardware store. I've been banking there for 40 years. I know everyone who works there. Marcia was at the front desk. She's about my age. We were on the PTA together a million years ago. "Margaret, good to see you. What can we do for you today?" "I need to speak with someone about my accounts. There are some transactions I don't understand." "Of course. Let me get Tom for you." Tom Reynolds is the branch manager. He's been there for 15 years. Professional, friendly. He knows his customers. He took me into his office and closed the door. "What seems to be the problem, Mrs. Hendricks?" I showed him the statements. "These withdrawals. I don't remember making them." He looked at the statements, then typed something into his computer. "Let me pull up your account history." He was quiet for a moment, studying the screen. Then he frowned. "These withdrawals were made with your debit card at various ATMs around town, but I didn't make them. The PIN was used, the correct PIN." My mouth went dry. "Could you tell me who else has access to my accounts?" He typed again. "You're the only name on the accounts, but—" He paused. "Do you have your debit card with you?" I opened my purse, took out my wallet. My debit card was there, right where it should be. "May I see it for a moment?" I handed it to him. He looked at it carefully, turned it over. "Mrs. Hendricks, this is your current card, but according to our records, you requested a replacement card in August. Said you'd lost this one." "I never lost my card. Someone called the bank, gave your account information, your social security number, your mother's maiden name, all the security information. We cancelled the old card and sent a new one to your address. I never received a new card. It was sent to your home address on file. Someone would have had to sign for it. The room tilted slightly. Tom, I said carefully. Who signed for it? He looked uncomfortable. I don't have that information here. It would have been a postal signature confirmation. But, Mrs. Hendricks, is there anyone who might have access to your mail? Anyone who might know your personal information? I thought about Michael. Michael, who has a key to my house. Michael, who grew up in this house and knows where I keep everything. Michael, who's been pushing me to sell. Michael, who's a financial advisor and would know exactly how to do this. Yes, I said quietly. I think there might be. Tom was wonderful. He printed out detailed records of every transaction on my accounts for the past year. Every withdrawal, every deposit, everything. I'm going to flag these transactions as potentially fraudulent, he said. We'll start an investigation. In the meantime, I'm closing these cards and issuing you new ones with new pins. And, Mrs. Hendricks, you might want to consider filing a police report. Police. The word hit me like a slap. Can I think about it? I asked. Of course. But the sooner you report it, the better chance we have of recovering your money and prosecuting whoever did this. Prosecuting. My son. I drove home in a daze. I sat at my kitchen table and went through the records Tom had given me. It was worse than I thought. Over the past 6 months, nearly $8,000 had been withdrawn from my accounts. $8,000. In small amounts, carefully spaced. Nothing large enough to trigger automatic fraud alerts. Whoever did this knew what they were doing, and there was more. I logged into my online banking, something I do maybe once a month. I'm not very computer savvy, but Robert's old laptop still works, and I know enough to check my balances. I noticed something I'd missed before. A new savings account had been opened in September, in my name, at a different bank. I never opened that account. I called the bank, went through the security questions. They confirmed the account had been opened online, using my social security number and personal information. $5,000 had been transferred into it from my primary savings account. Then, 3 weeks later, the $5,000 had been transferred out again. To where? They couldn't tell me over the phone. I'd have to come in with identification. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the darkness, trying to understand. How long had this been going on? What else had he done? Because it was him. I knew it was him. No one else had access. No one else had motive. My son. The boy I'd carried for 9 months. The child I'd nursed and raised and loved with every fiber of my being. He was stealing from me, and he was doing it carefully, methodically. He was planning something. The next morning I called Sarah. Honey, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay, Mum. What's wrong? You sound strange. Has Michael talked to you about my finances, about me selling the house? A pause. He's mentioned it. What exactly has he said? Another pause. Longer this time. Mum, is something wrong? Please, Sarah. Just tell me what he's said. He thinks you should sell the house and move into some kind of retirement community. He says it would be safer for you and it would free up equity that could be used for your care if you ever needed it. Free up equity. Did he use those words? Yes. Has he asked you to help convince me? Yes. But Mum, I told him you seemed perfectly capable of making your own decisions. I told him to back off. We actually argued about it at Thanksgiving. I felt a flood of relief. Sarah wasn't part of this. Has he said anything about needing money? Him and Jennifer? Not directly, but I know they've been stressed. Emma needs braces. Jake has some learning issues and they're paying for tutoring. Jennifer's job has been shaky. And I think they might have overextended themselves on their house. There it was. Motive. Mum, what's going on? I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know. And Sarah? Don't tell Michael we talked. You're scaring me. I'm okay, I promise. I just need to figure some things out. I spent the next 3 days investigating my own life. I went to the other bank and got records of the mystery account. The $5,000 had been transferred to an account belonging to Elmwood Property Management LLC. I'd never heard of Elmwood Property Management. I Googled it. Nothing came up. I went to the county clerk's office and looked up the business registration. Elmwood Property Management, LLC, had been registered in August. The registered agent was Michael Hendricks. My son had created a fake company. He'd opened a bank account in my name, transferred my money into it, then transferred that money into his fake company's account. Laundering. That's what it's called, isn't it? I sat in my car in the county clerk's parking lot and I cried. Not loud, dramatic crying, just quiet tears running down my face. How could he? How could he do this to me? That evening, Michael called. "Hey, Mum, just checking in. How are you?" His voice was cheerful, normal, like nothing was wrong, like he wasn't robbing me. "I'm fine, sweetheart." "Good, good. Hey, I was thinking, why don't you come to our place for Christmas this year? Save you the trouble of cooking." "That's sweet. Let me think about it." "Mum." His voice changed, got that edge again. "We really need to talk. About the house. About your finances. I think you're being irresponsible by putting this off." Irresponsible. I was being irresponsible. "Michael, I've been thinking about what you said. About adding you to my accounts." "Yeah? I'm ready to do that." Silence. Then, "Really?" "Yes, you're right. I should have someone helping me. It's too much to manage alone." "That's great, Mom. That's really great. I can come by this weekend and we'll go to the bank together. Actually, I was thinking I'd just sign some papers and mail them to you. Would that work?" Sure. Yeah. Let me send you the forms." "Perfect." We talked for a few more minutes. Meaningless chatter. Then we hung up. I sat very still. I'd just lied to my son. I'd never lied to my children before. Not about anything important. But I needed him to think I trusted him. I needed him to feel safe. Because I was going to catch him. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Not just any lawyer. Eleanor Price. She'd been Robert's lawyer when he did estate planning. She was sharp. And she was fair. And she'd always treated me with respect. "Mrs. Hendricks, it's been a while. What can I do for you?" "Eleanor, I think someone is stealing from me. And I think that someone is my son. Come to my office," she said immediately. "Today if you can." Eleanor's office is in a small building downtown, wood paneling, law books on shelves, a faint smell of old paper and lemon furniture polish. I brought everything, all the bank statements, the records from both banks, the information about Elmwood Property Management, everything. I laid it all out on her desk. She read through it carefully, making notes, asking questions. "How much total?" "About 13,000, as far as I can tell. But I don't know what else he might have done." "Has he asked you to sign anything recently?" "No, but he's been pushing me to add him to my bank accounts and to sell my house." "Have you given him power of attorney?" "No, absolutely not." "Good. That's good." She leaned back in her chair. "Mrs. Hendricks, this is serious. This is financial exploitation of an elderly person. It's a felony in this state." "Felony? My son is a felon. What do I do?" "First, we file a police report. We need an official record of this. Second, we freeze your assets. Make sure he can't access anything else. Third, we send him a legal demand letter for repayment. Give him a chance to return the money voluntarily. If he doesn't, we pursue civil litigation. And the police investigation proceeds separately. Will he go to jail?" She looked at me steadily. "He might, if the prosecutor decides to file charges, if there's enough evidence. But Mrs. Hendricks, you need to understand something. Once you report this, you can't take it back. This will change your relationship with your son. Forever." "It's already changed," I said quietly. "I just didn't know it until now." Filing the police report was harder than I expected. The detective was young, maybe 30, professional but uncomfortable. I could tell he didn't like dealing with family crimes. I told him everything. He took notes, asked questions, looked at my documentation. "Mrs. Hendricks, I have to ask, are you sure you didn't give your son permission to access these accounts?" "I'm sure." "And you're certain you want to press charges? This is your son. I'm aware of who he is. These cases are difficult. Family members often reconcile and drop charges later. The state invests a lot of resources in investigation." We need to know you're committed to seeing this through. I thought about that morning. The one I mentioned at the very beginning. The morning I saw Michael at my dining table, forging my signature. That morning hadn't happened yet, but it was coming. I'm committed, I said. Eleanor sent the demand letter the next day. Certified mail. Return receipt requested. It detailed every fraudulent transaction. It demanded full repayment within 30 days. It stated that if repayment wasn't received, we would pursue all legal remedies available, including civil litigation. It was formal, cold, legal. It didn't sound like something you'd send your child. But Michael wasn't acting like my child anymore. 3 days later, on a Tuesday morning, Michael showed up at my house. I heard his key in the lock, heard him come in without knocking. I was in the kitchen making tea. He stormed in, his face red, clutching the letter. What the hell is this? I turned slowly. Good morning, Michael. Don't good morning me. What the hell is this? He shook the letter at me. You sicked a lawyer on me? Your own son? I asked for my money back. Your money? Mum, I was trying to help you. By stealing from me? I didn't steal anything. I was managing your funds. I was trying to protect you from yourself. By creating fake companies. By opening accounts in my name without telling me. By taking $8,000 out of my account. It was $13,000, he said without thinking. Then he realized what he'd said. We stared at each other. How could you? I asked quietly. His face changed. The anger drained out. Now he just looked tired. You don't understand. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. So that makes it okay? To steal from your mother? I was going to pay you back. I just needed to get through this rough patch. The business has been slow, and Jennifer's job is shaky, and the kids' expenses keep piling up, and so ask me. If you needed help, ask me. I did ask. You said no. No, you didn't. You asked me to sell my house. You asked me to let you control my money. You never once said, Mum, I'm in trouble, can you help me? Because you would have said no. You would have lectured me about living within my means and making better choices, and so instead, you just took it. I was going to pay you back. When? How? You're still taking money from me right now, even while we're having this conversation. His eyes went hard. You're senile. You don't know what you're saying. You don't understand these things. I understand theft. No jury would convict me. Everyone knows elderly people get confused, forget things. You probably gave me permission and just don't remember. There are records, Michael. Bank records. Signatures that aren't mine. Paper trails. Good luck proving it. I'm a financial advisor. You're an old woman who lives alone. Who do you think they'll believe? And there it was. The mask was off. This wasn't my son standing in my kitchen. This was a stranger wearing my son's face. Get out, I said. Mum, get out of my house and leave a key. You're making a mistake. No, I made my mistake 35 years ago when I taught you that you could take whatever you wanted without consequences. I made my mistake when I gave you everything and taught you nothing about gratitude or boundaries. But I'm done making mistakes. Get out. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but not as much as you will. He threw his key on the counter, and he left. I stood in my kitchen, shaking, for a long time after he was gone. Then I called Eleanor. He's not going to pay me back voluntarily. I didn't think he would. We'll file the civil suit, and I'll let the detective know he's been contacted and is refusing to cooperate. What happens now? Now we wait. The police continue their investigation. We proceed with the lawsuit. And Mrs. Hendricks, you might want to consider changing your locks. Already planning on it. The next 2 weeks were strange. I went about my normal routine, made my tea, stood on my porch, tended my garden even though it was winter and there wasn't much to tend. But everything felt different. I jumped every time the phone rang. I checked the locks twice before bed. I found myself looking at photos of Michael as a child, trying to figure out where it went wrong, what I'd missed, what I could have done differently. But I couldn't change the past. I could only deal with the present and the future I was going to build. Christmas came. Sarah invited me to Baltimore. I went. It was nice to be with her and Tom and little Lily. We baked cookies. We watched old movies. We played board games. She didn't mention Michael, and neither did I. But on Christmas Eve, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah and I sat in her living room with glasses of wine, and she finally asked, "Mum, what happened? Mike won't talk about it. He says you're being unreasonable, that you're confused. But I know you're not confused." So I told her. Everything. She cried. "I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault, sweetheart. He's my brother. I should have seen it. Should have known. You couldn't have known. I didn't know. And I'm his mother. What are you going to do? What I have to do. I'm seeing it through." She reached over and took my hand. "I'm here. Whatever you need. I'm here." That meant more than she could know. In January, the detective called. "Mrs. Hendricks, we've completed our investigation. We have enough evidence to move forward with charges. The prosecutor's office will be filing charges of financial exploitation of an elderly person, identity theft, and fraud. These are serious charges. Felonies. What happens next? Your son will be arrested and arraigned. He'll likely be released on bail. Then there will be a trial, unless he pleads guilty. When? Probably within the next few weeks. Thank you, Detective. Mrs. Hendricks, you did the right thing. I know it doesn't feel like it, but you did. I wasn't so sure, but I was committed now. Michael was arrested on a Tuesday morning. I didn't witness it. I wasn't there, but I heard about it. Sarah called me, crying. "Mum, they arrested him. At his office. In front of his colleagues. Jennifer called me. She's hysterical. The kids are scared. She says you did this. That you destroyed their family." My heart broke. For Jennifer, who I'd never been especially close to, but who didn't deserve this. For Emma and Jake, my grandchildren, who were innocent in all of this, but not for Michael. "He did this," I said quietly. "Not me. He made these choices." I know. But Mum, the kids. Emma is crying. She doesn't understand why her dad was taken away by police. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. But I can't protect him from the consequences of his own actions. Not anymore. I know. I'm not asking you to. I needed you to know. Needed you to know what's happening. Thank you for telling me." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table, and I let myself cry. For the little boy Michael had been. For the family we'd been. For the grandmother. I couldn't be right now to Emma and Jake. For all of it. Then I dried my eyes, and I made myself dinner, and I kept going. Because that's what you do. The arraignment was a week later. I didn't go. Eleanor advised against it. "Let the legal process play out. You don't need to be there. It will just be harder on everyone." So I stayed home. But I thought about it all day. Wondered what he was feeling. If he was scared. If he regretted it. If he understood, even now, what he'd done. Michael pleaded not guilty. Eleanor told me this wasn't surprising. Most defendants plead not guilty initially. It's strategic. Gives his lawyer time to review the evidence, negotiate a plea deal if possible. Will there be a trial? Maybe. Maybe not. A lot depends on what kind of deal the prosecutor is willing to offer, and whether your son is willing to accept it. What do you think will happen? Honestly, I think once his lawyer sees the evidence, they'll advise him to take a plea. The paper trail is solid. The bank records don't lie. If it goes to trial, he'll likely be convicted and face harsher sentencing than if he pleads guilty. How long would he go to jail? With a plea deal? Maybe a year, plus restitution and probation. If convicted at trial, could be 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. My son in prison for 3 to 5 years. Mrs. Hendricks, I have to ask. If he agrees to pay you back, agrees to restitution, would you consider asking the prosecutor to drop the charges? I thought about it. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. Because this isn't just about me. What if he's done this to other clients? What if he does it again? Someone needs to stop him. And if I don't do it, who will? Eleanor nodded. That's what I thought you'd say. February was cold. The kind of cold that seeps into your bones. I kept to my routine. Tea, porch, garden watching, quiet days. I didn't hear from Michael. Or Jennifer. All my grandchildren. Sarah called regularly, checking on me, making sure I was okay. I talked to Jennifer. She said one day, she's filing for divorce. Oh no. She says she can't trust him anymore. Says she doesn't know who he is. She found out he'd been hiding debts from her. Credit cards she didn't know about. Loans. She's scared about their finances, and she doesn't want to be tied to him legally if he's convicted. Those poor kids. I know. It's a mess, Mum. It's all such a mess. How is she managing? She moved in with her sister. She's trying to keep things normal for Emma and Jake, but they know something's wrong. Emma keeps asking when she can see her dad, when she can see you. That hurt. Tell her. Tell her I love her, that I love both of them, and that someday, when they're older, I'll explain everything. Okay, Mum. But there was something Sarah didn't know, something I hadn't told anyone yet. That morning, I mentioned at the very beginning, the morning everything became crystal clear. It happened in early March. I woke up at my usual time, made my tea, stood on my porch. The air smelled like thawing earth, early spring, new beginnings. I came inside and I was walking past the dining room when I saw him, Michael, sitting at my dining room table, in my house. He'd let himself in. I don't know how. I'd changed the locks, but he was there, and he had papers spread out in front of him, and he was signing something. I stood in the hallway out of sight, and I watched. He was signing my name, forging my signature, on what looked like a deed. My hands started shaking. I took one step back, and my elbow hit a small table. A vase wobbled. He looked up. Our eyes met. For a second, neither of us moved. Then I spoke. What are you doing? He stood up quickly. Mum, I didn't hear you come down. What are you doing with those papers? I'm just trying to help you, trying to handle some paperwork. By forging my signature. I'm not forging anything. You asked me to help with this. I did no such thing. What are those papers? He gathered them up quickly. It's nothing. Just some routine stuff. Show me. Mum, show me, or I'm calling the police right now. He hesitated. Then he put the papers back on the table. I walked over and looked at them. It was a quitclaim deed, transferring ownership of my house from me to him. I stared at it. You were going to steal my house. I'm not stealing anything. You don't need it anymore. You should be in a facility. This house is too much for you. I'm trying to protect the asset before you lose mental capacity and the state gets involved and... Get out. Mum, be reasonable. Get out. My voice was louder now, stronger. Get out of my house and don't ever come back. You're making a huge mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you, was believing that somewhere inside you was still the boy I raised. But he's gone. You killed him, and I don't know who you are anymore. I'm your son. No, you're a thief and a liar and a forger, and you're going to prison. His face went pale. You wouldn't. I already did. And now I have more evidence. You broke into my house. You forged my signature on a deed. All of it on camera. I pointed to the corner of the dining room, where, 2 weeks earlier, Eleanor had advised me to install a small security camera, just in case. His eyes followed my finger. He saw the camera, and he knew. He knew it was over. He ran, just grabbed the papers and ran out of the house. I stood there, shaking. Then I called Eleanor. Then I called the detective. Within an hour, there were police at my door taking a statement. I gave them the security footage. Clear video of Michael at my table, forging my signature, breaking and entering, attempted real estate fraud, more charges to add to the list. The detective who'd handled my original case came by that afternoon. Mrs. Hendricks, this changes things significantly. This shows clear criminal intent, a pattern of behavior, and evidence that he's escalating. The prosecutor is going to want to pursue this aggressively now. Good. Are you sure? This is going to get messy. Your son is going to face serious time. I'm sure. He nodded. You're braver than most people in your situation. Most family members can't do what you're doing. I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being a victim. Michael was arrested again 2 days later, this time at his lawyer's office. The bail was revoked because of the new charges. He was held in county jail until trial. Jennifer officially filed for divorce the same week. The local newspaper picked up the story. Local financial advisor arrested for elder fraud. My name wasn't in the article. I was referred to as a 73-year-old victim, but in a small town, everyone knew. I became the woman whose son stole from her. I became gossip. I felt the stares at the grocery store, heard the whispers at church. Some people were kind. Mrs. Patterson brought me casserole and told me I was doing the right thing. Some people were judgmental. Mrs. Chen from down the street actually said to my face, "Family should forgive family. You're destroying that boy's life." I looked her in the eye and said, "He destroyed his own life when he chose to steal from his mother." She didn't bring it up again. The trial was set for May. But in April, Michael's lawyer reached out to Eleanor. He wanted to negotiate a plea deal. We met in Eleanor's office. Me, Eleanor, the prosecutor, Michael's lawyer. Not Michael. He wasn't there. His lawyer laid it out. "My client is willing to plead guilty to all charges. He's willing to pay full restitution plus interest. He's willing to accept probation and community service. In exchange, we're asking that the prosecutor recommend minimal jail time, maybe 6 months, served on weekends." The prosecutor looked at me. "Mrs. Hendricks, it's ultimately your decision. I can't make him take this deal. But I also can't guarantee what a jury will do. They might convict him and the judge might give him 5 years. Or they might be sympathetic to a family situation and give him probation. Trials are unpredictable." I thought about it. Thought about Emma and Jake, growing up with their father in prison. Thought about Jennifer, already struggling as a single mother. Thought about Sarah, caught in the middle. Thought about myself. What did I want? What did I need? "Full restitution," I said. "Every penny, plus interest, plus all my legal fees, paid within 1 year." "He doesn't have that kind of money," the lawyer said. "Then he'll have to figure it out. Sell his house, liquidate his retirement accounts, get a loan. I don't care. He took my money. He needs to give it back." "Mrs. Hendricks, be reasonable." "I am being reasonable. I could demand he go to prison for 5 years and never see his children except through glass. Instead, I'm giving him a chance to stay out of prison if he makes this right financially. That's more than reasonable." The prosecutor smiled slightly. "I agree. Full restitution within 1 year, plus 2 years jail time, suspended if restitution is paid, and he completes 5 years probation with no violations, plus 500 hours community service. Take it or leave it." Michael's lawyer looked unhappy. "I'll talk to my client." 3 days later, Michael accepted the deal. He pleaded guilty in court. I was there for the sentencing. I sat in the back row. Michael stood before the judge in an orange jumpsuit, his hands cuffed. He looked thinner, older, broken. The judge asked if he had anything to say. Michael turned and looked at me. "Mum, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. I was desperate, and I made terrible choices, and I hurt you. I hurt everyone. I'm sorry." His voice cracked. He was crying. And part of me, the mother part, the part that had rocked him to sleep and kissed his scraped knees and cheered at his baseball games, that part wanted to forgive him, wanted to run to him and hold him and tell him it would be okay. But the stronger part, the part that had learned about boundaries and consequences and self-respect, that part stayed seated. The judge spoke. "Mr. Hendricks, you violated your mother's trust in the worst possible way. You exploited her vulnerability. You stole from her systematically and deliberately. And when you were caught, you tried to steal even more. This court has little sympathy for elder abuse. However, your mother has shown remarkable grace by agreeing to this plea arrangement. You are hereby sentenced to 2 years in county jail, suspended contingent on full restitution of $17,243.67 within 1 year, 5 years probation, and 500 hours community service. If you violate any terms of this agreement, you will serve the full sentence. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Then I suggest you spend every waking moment for the next year figuring out how to pay your mother back." Court dismissed. I walked out of that courtroom, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Relief. It was over. The legal part, anyway. Michael was released that day. He had to wear an ankle monitor. report to a probation officer weekly. He couldn't leave the state. He'd lost his financial advisor license, lost his career. He and Jennifer were divorcing. He'd have limited custody of Emma and Jake. His life was destroyed. But he was out of jail. He had a chance to rebuild, more of a chance than he'd given me. Over the next few months, Michael sold his house. It was underwater. He owed more than it was worth. But he sold it short and used what little money was left toward my restitution. He liquidated his retirement accounts, took the tax penalties. He borrowed money from friends. He got a job working at a tax preparation service, making a quarter of what he used to make. He moved into a small apartment, and every month, like clockwork, a check arrived. Payment toward what he owed me. It would take him the full year, maybe longer. But he was paying me back. Sarah came to visit in June. We sat in my garden drinking lemonade, watching the hydrangeas bloom. "How are you doing, Mum?" "Really? I'm okay. Better than okay, actually." "Yeah? I've been thinking about what happened, about what it taught me." "What's that?" "That I matter, that my needs and my safety and my boundaries matter. I spent so much of my life putting everyone else first. You kids, your father. I defined myself by taking care of other people. And somewhere along the way, I forgot that I was a person too, that I deserved respect and honesty and care. Mum, I'm not blaming you or Sarah. You were children. It was my job to take care of you. But Michael, he saw that. He saw that I would sacrifice anything for my kids. And he used it. He exploited my love. He's sick, Mum. What he did? It's not normal. Maybe. But it's done now. And I'm different now. Stronger. More aware. Sarah reached over and took my hand. "I'm proud of you. I know that sounds weird, but I am. What you did took courage. Thank you, sweetheart." In July, I got a letter from Michael. It was handwritten, 5 pages. He told me everything. How he'd gotten in over his head with debt. How he'd made bad investments and lost money and been too proud to admit it. How he'd started taking small amounts from my accounts, telling himself it was a temporary loan. How it had escalated. How he'd justified it by convincing himself I didn't need the money. How he'd planned to sell my house and use the proceeds to cover his debts. Then move me into assisted living and tell myself it was for my own good. How he'd become someone he didn't recognize. He apologized. Over and over. He said he was in therapy, working on himself, trying to understand how he'd become capable of such things. He said he didn't expect my forgiveness, but he hoped someday I might be willing to have some kind of relationship with him again. For Emma and Jake's sake, if not his own. I read that letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. I wasn't ready to respond. Maybe someday. But not yet. In August, something unexpected happened. I got a call from a woman named Patricia. She was in her 80s, a friend of Mrs. Patterson's. "Margaret, I heard about what happened with your son. I'm so sorry, but I'm calling because I think my son might be doing something similar to me." We met for coffee. She told me her story. Money disappearing, pressure to sell her house, a son who said he was helping. It sounded familiar. "What should I do?" she asked. And I told her. "Check your bank statements. Look for patterns. Document everything. Talk to a lawyer. Don't be afraid to protect yourself." "But he's my son," she said. "I know, but you're his mother, and you deserve to be treated with respect and honesty. Your money is your money. Your house is your house. Your life is your life." She cried a little. Then she thanked me, and she started investigating. 2 more women called that month. Then 3 more. Word was spreading. I became the person other elderly mothers called when they suspected financial abuse. I hadn't planned it, but it felt right. It felt like something good coming from something terrible. By September, I'd helped 7 women. 3 of them ended up filing police reports. 2 more just needed advice on how to set boundaries with their adult children. 2 discovered they'd been wrong. Their kids were actually helping legitimately. But all of them thanked me. All of them said I'd given them permission to protect themselves. Eleanor called me. "Mrs. Hendricks, have you considered speaking publicly about this? Maybe doing some community education? The senior center might be interested in having you speak." I thought about it. Me, speaking to a group. I'd never done anything like that before. But why not? Okay, I said. I'll do it. My first talk was in October. 50 people showed up. Mostly elderly, mostly women, some with their adult children. I stood at the front of the room, my hands shaking, and I told my story. All of it. The theft, the investigation, the arrest, the trial. The hardest decision I'd ever made, and why I'd made it. I talked about warning signs, red flags, how to protect yourself. But mostly I talked about dignity, about knowing your worth, about understanding that love shouldn't cost you your security or your autonomy or your peace of mind. When I finished, there was silence, then applause, then questions, then a line of people waiting to talk to me, women crying, sharing their stories, asking for advice, men apologizing for things their siblings had done, adult children who'd witnessed elder abuse and didn't know how to help. I stayed for 2 hours. And when I finally left, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. I did more talks. The senior center, the library, a local church. Each time, more people showed up. Each time, I felt more confident. I wasn't just Margaret anymore, the elderly mother whose son stole from her. I was Margaret, the woman who fought back, the woman who helped others fight back. I was someone new. Michael made his final restitution payment in April, 1 year exactly from his sentencing. He'd done it, paid back every penny. Eleanor called to tell me. The funds have cleared. You've been made whole, Mrs. Hendricks. Made whole. I didn't feel whole. I felt different. Better in some ways. Stronger. More sure of myself. But not whole. Because you can't undo what happened. You can't erase the betrayal. You can only move forward. A week later, Michael called. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Hello? Hi, Mum. Silence. I paid you back. Everything. I know. Thank you. Can we talk? Can I come see you? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Not yet, I said finally. I'm not ready yet. When? I don't know. Maybe never. Maybe someday. I need time to figure out if there's any trust left to rebuild. And even if there is, Michael, things will never be the same. You understand that, right? I understand. I hope you do. I hope you've learned something from all of this. I have. Mum. I really have. I'm different now. Good. Be different for Emma and Jake. Be the father they deserve. That's the only thing that matters to me now. Okay. Goodbye, Michael. Mum. I hung up. And I felt not happy exactly, but at peace. It's been 6 months since that call. I'm 74 now. I still live in my house on Elmwood Street. The house with blue shutters and hydrangeas and Robert's stone path. The house that's mine. No one is ever taking from me again. I see my grandchildren now. Not often, but sometimes. Sarah arranges it. We meet at parks or museums, neutral places. Emma is 12 now. She's quiet around me, watchful. She knows something bad happened, but she doesn't know all the details. Someday she'll ask, and I'll tell her the truth. But for now, we're learning to know each other again. Jake is 9. He doesn't remember as much. He's easier, more open. He showed me a drawing he made of a superhero grandmother who fights bad guys. Is that me? I asked. Maybe, he said with a grin. I hugged him tight. I still give talks. Once or twice a month. I've helped coordinate a support group for seniors dealing with financial abuse. We meet at the library every other Wednesday. Sometimes 15 people show up, sometimes 5. But we're there for each other, sharing stories, offering advice, reminding each other that we matter, that our safety matters, that protecting ourselves isn't selfish. It's survival. I've learned a lot this past year and a half. I've learned that love and boundaries can coexist, that you can love someone and still hold them accountable, that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or accepting or pretending it didn't happen. That real forgiveness, if it comes at all, is a choice you make for yourself, not for the person who hurt you. I've learned that strength isn't about never being afraid or never feeling pain. It's about moving forward anyway. I've learned that being elderly doesn't mean being helpless or weak or confused. It means having a lifetime of experience to draw on, and sometimes that experience teaches you when to fight. People ask me if I regret it. Reporting Michael, pressing charges, seeing it through. The answer is no, not even a little bit. Because the alternative was staying silent, letting him get away with it. Teaching my grandchildren that family can do anything to you and you just have to accept it. Teaching myself that I didn't matter enough to protect. I couldn't do that. I couldn't live with that. So I made a different choice. A harder choice. But the right choice. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't caught him that morning. If I hadn't installed that security camera. If I hadn't seen him forge my signature on that deed. Would he have succeeded? Would I be in some assisted living facility right now, confused about where my house went? Would he have taken everything? Probably. Because he'd already decided I didn't matter. My needs, my wants, my life. None of it mattered as much as his problems. And once someone decides you don't matter, they're capable of terrible things. I'm still here. In my house. In my life. On my terms. I wake up at 6:30. I make my tea. I stand on my porch and I breathe in the morning. I tend my garden. Robert's garden. Our garden. I go to the grocery store and the library and my talks. I have coffee with Mrs. Patterson and lunch with Sarah when she visits. I'm doing the Sunday crossword puzzle alone because Robert isn't here to help me anymore. But I'm doing it. I'm living. Not just surviving. Living. And that's worth everything. Last week, I got another letter from Michael. I didn't read it right away. I let it sit on the counter for 3 days. Then, one morning after my tea, I opened it. It was shorter this time. Just 1 page. He said he understood if I never wanted to see him again. He said he was grateful I'd given him the chance to make restitution. He said he was working on himself, still in therapy, still trying to understand how he'd become capable of what he did. He said Emma asked about me, asked if she could send me a letter. He said he'd leave it up to me. No pressure, no expectations. Just an offer. I sat with that letter for a long time. Then I got out my stationery, the good kind, with the pressed flowers, and I wrote back. Not to Michael, to Emma. I told her I loved her. I told her I was thinking of her. I told her that sometimes families go through hard things, but that doesn't mean love disappears. It just changes shape. And I told her that when she was ready, if she wanted to, we could spend an afternoon together. Just the two of us. Maybe I'd teach her to bake Robert's favorite chocolate chip cookies. Or we'd work in the garden together. Or we'd just sit and talk. I sealed the letter and I mailed it. And I felt something shift inside me. Not forgiveness, not yet. But maybe the beginning of something. Healing, perhaps. Or at least the possibility of it. This morning, I stood on my porch like I do every morning. The air smelled like autumn. The leaves on my maple tree are starting to turn. Another season coming. Another year passing. I'm 74 years old. I live alone. My son stole from me and I turned him in and our relationship may never recover. But I'm still here. In my house. On my porch. Breathing in the morning. Stronger than I've ever been. And that's not nothing. That's everything. So I want to ask you something if you're listening to this. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you loved tried to take advantage of you? Maybe it was money. Maybe it was something else. Did you speak up? Or did you stay silent because it was family? Because you didn't want to cause trouble? Because you thought love meant accepting anything? I'm not here to judge your choices. We all do what we can with what we know at the time. But I am here to tell you that you matter. Your safety matters. Your dignity matters. Your boundaries matter. And protecting yourself isn't betrayal. It's survival. It's self-respect. It's teaching the people who come after you, your children, your grandchildren, that love has limits, that real love respects those limits. I'd love to hear your story if you're willing to share it. Sometimes just knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. And here's what I know for certain, after everything I've been through. You're stronger than you think you are. You deserve better than you've been accepting. And it's never too late to start protecting yourself. Never.